it's not been really obvious. I've got another build coming. So this is the lowrider frame, the 7-inch one. I finally have my 7-inch props turn up. So these are the 7-inch props. I don't have any others around to show off how big these are. Oh wait, there's a 6-inch. That's a 6-inch prop. So as you can see, they're quite a bit bigger. But I thought I'd do this video. Normally I do time lapse. I thought I'd do this video more sort of vloggy style. So I've been putting this together. I haven't done any soldering yet, but we've been experimenting a little with this. So I've got the stack in there, as you can probably see. I've got the 4-in-1 ESC, the FreeSky flight controller, and the Maytech video controller, all as one stack. And basically what I've been doing is trying to get them to fit. So I've managed to do it now. You get the top on there and they just fit in there. That's quite a tight fit. But it's been a bit of a trial. It is really difficult to show this off because of the angle. Maybe if I put my hand behind it you can see it a bit better. The video transmitter has got a little cap on the back. That's touching something on top of the flight controller. At the back here you've got the antenna for the flight controller. I've had to put a little bit of electrical tape underneath them just to make sure they don't touch the cables for the ESCs. The ESC I've actually had to mount upside down. So all the soldering will be done on the bottom, which means this pigtail's done on the bottom. And yeah, I've ended up having to shorten a lot of these standoffs, so it's actually really tight in there. I'm quite impressed I managed to get it all to fit in, but this is taking quite a bit of time. Basically I've just been sanding off the standoffs with a bit of sandpaper. But I've worked it all out and it all fits in there. I've actually put some electrical tape on the bottom of this as well, just in case, because it's so tight. Not so worried about that end, but I'm more worried about the board flexing up this way and shorting on the carbon. So I'll just put some electrical tape just up this end here, and around the hole, just so that if it does bounce up it won't short on anything. And that's as far as I've got. This has taken about a week so far to get to this stage. But I'm pretty much ready now to start soldering it all together, and yeah, we'll go through it from there. Alright, so I know I said I'd pull it all apart and start the build, but I've been messing around with the camera mount. So these are the parts that you get that go into the frame. They sit that way up, so that this is the bottom and this is the top. So there's two pins attaching at the top and one at the bottom. And what I've noticed happens is that when you first put it in, it sits in nicely, if I could do that. It sits in nicely like that. And then over a bit of time it tends to want to do that. So it sort of pulls the back away from the, there's nothing at the back here supporting it, so I don't really like these camera mounts. So I've been playing around with the normal Runcam one that comes in the, can you even see that? The standard one that comes in the Runcam box. Oh, actually I've got another one here. I have hundreds of these things. That, well, not that one, but the bigger one. You can't even see that. There we go, that. The one with the extra little standoff bit anyway. So I've screwed it on the frame. It fits on fine. You get some little screws in the thing. There's some holes at the bottom here that you can screw it on. And it actually fits okay that way. But there's two problems. Firstly, with even the pair of screws in, it, as tight as I can get them, still flexes around, which is kind of pointless. And the second problem I've got is that when you put the top on, even if the camera is dead flat, at any point the camera flexes the top plate off of these screws at the front. So again, I'll put my hand there so you can see it. Front standoffs don't want to fit. The camera is a bit higher up whoops, camera's a bit higher up in this than it is on these, so it doesn't like that at all. So my next plan is to use these. These are the little rubber standoff things for the vibration. These are little vibration mounts for ESCs. They're just little rubbery type O-rings. And what my plan was to actually use these. Ooh, I'll get something to point in the main hole there, and then in the bit at the back. Which bit's the back? That bit's the back. That bit there, where the screws go. And this should mean that it'll help the camera sort of push out and hopefully hold the whole thing together like that. Absolutely no idea if it's going to work, but I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? It doesn't work and I'm back to a camera that moves around. It doesn't look like I've got much of a choice with that anyway. So yeah, so I guess I'll pull the camera off, and this time, for real, I'll undo the stack. Actually, while the camera's still going, I did have a look at the stack. Where's my motor? There's my motor. So this is one of the Cobra motors that I'm going to use. I'll demo it on this front arm here. So that's it approximately on the arm, and one thing I've noticed is these cables are only barely long enough. I'm not comfortable with them being that tight. So what I was going to do was, I've got literally meters of this stuff. I was just going to cut off some small bits, maybe about that long, solder those onto the ESCs, all 4 ESCs, and then we'll pull them back that way, and then I'll cut the cables a bit shorter on here and solder the two together. I'll use some heat shrink, and that will give me a bit of extra flex and a bit of wiggle room on the motor cables. I'm probably also going to twist these so that they'll be this way. This one isn't very good. I'll probably end up doing this with them, which again shortens them a little bit more. That actually shortens them enough so that they're not there, and it's easier to do that if you can solder it halfway up. Yeah, so we'll give that a go next. So I've got the cables on. What I want to do now is actually finish off the stack. So I've put the ESC in place and I've put the cable on that comes with it. This is the flight controller, so the flight controller is going to sit directly above it. What I want to do is I'm going to try and get this, seeing as we've got this plug anyway, so that I can pull the flight controller out without having to desolder anything. The best way I've worked out how to do that, or the closest I can get to that, is actually have the flight controller and the VTX will need to be in such a way that they are soldered together, sort of. The components, at least, like the cables, sort of soldered together. And then the VTX and the camera can have a plug. The flight controller and the ESCs can have a plug. So that's pretty close. I mean, they're not too far apart. But but this has been quite confusing to try and work out how to do this. So how I think I'm going to do it is, so these first two, I've got the instructions right in front of it so I can see what they are. These first two connections here, actually that one and that one, doesn't really matter because they're both ground. Ah, there you go, that one and that one. This is 12 volts. So what I'm going to use that for is that's going to power the video transmitter. The video transmitter powered off of, it can be powered off of your LiPo, but 7 to 20 something volts it says on the thing, 21 on the thing. So 12 volts is perfect for that. So I'm going to use that for the VTX. The next one across, which is the brown one and that black one that I had before, this is 5 volts. So this flight controller needs a 5 volt signal, so that will be perfect for it. So that's going to power the flight controller. The next one across is your VBAT, so that's going to go just straight into the VBAT sensor. The next one next to that was a ground, but I don't need a ground for VBAT, so don't need to worry about that. And then the next four are the motor connections. Now these ones, what I'm going to do is they're going to run under the flight controller and come up into the pins accordingly. In fact, all of these are going to run under and come up. It's just the others happen to be on that end. And this bit actually gets a little bit confusing. I've turned the ESC around so the numbers don't match where they're supposed to be. And I've turned the flight controller around so the corners don't match where the numbers are either. So what I'm basically going to have to do, it's hard to describe, but what I'm going to have to do is sort of translate the numbers. So this is the front of the quad. So this will be motor 1, 2, 3 and 4. This is ESC 4. This is 2. So 2's in the right spot. This is ESC 3 according to the little silk screen. So 3's in the right spot. And this is ESC 1. So that's in the wrong spot. So 1 and 4 need to be backwards. Now if this was round the right way, that would be easy. But it's not. I'm twisting this as well. So I'm going to need to be quite careful about what I solder to what. So yeah, I'll go through the process of trying to work all that out and cut the cable short and then solder them on. Okay, so now that's that done. Now I just need to put the power into the video transmitter. So the VTX is going to sit here. I've put a little bit of tape on the metal bit that it's going to rest against, just in case. I don't think there's going to be any problem with that anyway. And these are the 12 volt outputs. So the 12 volts is going to come up and into these pins here. This is in. And what I'm actually going to do is give them a little bit of extra slack, so that when I pull if I ever pull the stack apart in the future, there's going to be that little bit extra slack, so that I can pull the video transmitter and the flight controller apart. So you'll notice that this effectively ties the video transmitter and flight controller together through the plug. There'll also be another one where the OSD ends up tying them together, and the controls, so the serial port that's here, will end up tying them together as well. So yeah, so I'm going to strip these cables now and solder them in. Okay, so that's the all of those bits done. What I'm going to do now is put it back in the frame, make sure it's all good. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do if it's not good. I'm probably going to pull this out again, so I'm not going to bother connecting the ESC in. So yeah, what I'll need to do is just tuck all of that inside there. And it's mainly so that when I pull them apart I can actually work on one board or the other and them not get in the way of each other. So that's done, we pop that on there to make sure that all goes together good. So yeah, so that's it all done up. The cables aren't really pushing against anything particularly hard. They're definitely not going to be moving around in there, so I'm not that worried about them not being silicon cables. It would have been nice, but you get what you get. And yeah, so I guess the next thing I probably want to put on, seeing as I have these boards ready, is the camera connection. So the camera connection, camera's going to sit here. Obviously the camera connection comes out the back. It's going to get its power from the transmitter off of these two pins here. So again, they will go through there. I want to make them a little bit longer. Yeah, I don't really care that much about them. And this is going to go into the video in, which was almost directly behind the camera. So just guesstimate, they can be about that long. Make them just a little bit longer, because I always seem to underestimate. And that one, I mean, literally goes down there, so give it just a little bit for extra flex, and that'll probably do. This will mean that the camera can actually move around a little bit, so I can move it up and down. And these are silicon cables, so they're nothing bad's going to happen with them. Yeah, so I'll solder those in, and then that's that stack done. Right, there we go. So if anything, I made that video one a little bit too long, but longer is better than shorter. There'll be plenty of flex in there for that. Yeah, so what I might do now is put the motors on. that's the motors on, and that's all of the electronics done. So I'm going to call this the end of part 1. In part 2, I'm going to be giving this a test because I haven't tested it yet. I'll be programming everything up, and I'll be giving it a maiden flight. So yeah, stick around for that. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Yeah, maybe think about putting a comment down and subscribing. Thanks very much.